Welcome to the International Institute for Facilitation's podcast, Spaghetti on the Wall. I'm Eileen Dowse, past chair and director of certification for INIFAC, and I'm joined by a fellow colleague who's also a past chair of INIFAC, and she is also a Certified Master Facilitator. The reason why I brought her here, Sheryl Trent, is she has done, over like 100 strategic planning sessions. And that's only in the last 10 years. And she's got oodles of experience despite her youthful look. So she's got tons of experience. We won't go into age. And for the next few minutes, we're going to talk about facilitating strategic planning sessions. We'll untangle that mess. Who knows? We might even have a food fight around it, Sheryl. So welcome. And
Thank you.
Sheryl, these days, when I think about strategic planning, strategic planning, let's do a 3-year plan, let's do a 5-year plan. Sheryl, I can't even do a 1-year plan, a tomorrow plan with how the world is working right now.
Oh, yeah.
So can you give us just kind of the quick snapshot of what's happening in the world of strategic planning, and then we can drill down to really what is strategic planning?
Yeah, I think first it's your fault I am the past chair of the INIFAC Board of Directors because you talked me into it, but I had such a great time and I'm thankful we were able to connect. So I appreciate being here. What I'm seeing in strategic planning in the past several years is this divisiveness that we're all experiencing or seeing is 100% happening with my clients, but also not happening at all. People are becoming more cohesive and more interested in having these difficult conversations about the future and more interested in planning a future of their own making, a future that they dreamed and that they designed and that to some extent they can actually make happen and control because it goes against all of this divisiveness and discord that's happening sort of outside the strategic planning world.
Wait, so are you saying people are doing their own, like an individual thing, or companies are doing that?
Great question. Companies are doing that, both, especially in local government, which, as you know, is somewhat my specialty, although I've done strategic plans for-profit and nonprofit as well as local government. But they're coming together and they're bringing their communities together in a way that's creating this ability to reach agreements and consensus instead of being divisive and being divided on issues. We all know there are always going to be issues that people don't agree upon. And what facilitated strategic planning can do is it can hold those conversations to find agreement and then build on that positivity of agreement moving forward. The disagreement will still happen, no question. But that's what my clients are focused on, is building that community around things that they all agree upon. You'd be surprised. Maybe you wouldn't be surprised. You know better than most, given your background, that people have many points of agreement, many more points of agreement than disagreement in life. You just have to get together and sit in a room and talk about it. And it's amazing what can happen.
Well, for me, I always say when two people always agree, one of them isn't necessary. So I am all about let's stir up the crap and, insert inappropriate word here. Let's stir it up, because I think what you're also talking about is the importance of divergence, convergence, right? So if we're all just getting in a meeting and agreeing, then we don't ask the tough questions. Am I hearing you right on where you're going there?
You are, and I think this point sometimes isn't as well, accepted and respected to some extent. That person who's the squeaky wheel, the one who's always complaining about the work that you're doing or your customer service isn't good enough, those are actually the people you really want to involve in your strategic planning process for two reasons. Number one, it's super important to hear perspective where people don't think you're doing what they believe you should be doing. And the second point is you can give them information and share ideas and thoughts with them that they didn't even think of themselves. And somewhere in between this spectrum is a middle ground that we can craft something moving forward that both people can support. Yeah.
Cheryl, Cheryl, already I'm loving our title, Spaghetti on the Wall, because I have a set of questions to ask you. We've already gone to a different wall, but that's okay. That's okay, because where you just took my brain is we're talking about strategic planning, we're talking about this difference, and I just want to squeak in here the importance and relevance and whatever of having a facilitator or a meeting, not even a meeting leader, someone who has those facilitation skills to do that, and the role of a facilitator in strategic planning. Like, wow.
Yes. I mean, let's be super clear. Strategic planning is not rocket science, right? It's guiding principles, it's a
Right.
mission, it's a vision, it's, goals, it's priorities. That's anybody can go in a back room and write a strategic plan that's gonna be, fairly decent.
Yeah.
The best strategic plans emerge from a series of really carefully crafted questions of your
Yes.
employees, of your customers, of your board of directors, of your stakeholders, of your partners, of yourself
Yeah.
that encourage this opportunity to just be really open and honest about what's going on. Like what's going on right now,
Yeah.
right? Where do we suck, quite
Yeah.
frankly? And where do we think we're doing pretty well?
Yeah.
And why do we suck? And why do we think we're doing well? And then this really, really fun opportunity to say, what are some of these trends that I'm seeing that could affect us in the future, both positively and negatively?
Yeah.
And to me, quite frankly, that's probably the most fun of strategic planning is this opportunity to engage not just inspiration and aspiration, which everybody thinks of, but this, what are the possibilities?
Mm.
Maybe I can maybe I've heard about them or read about them or somebody said something,
Mm-hmm.
but if I were unlimited, what are the possibilities that I could create
Mm-hmm.
moving forward?
Yeah.
That's fun.
I love it. So, what would be the key points to your where do we suck list? Because I think there are different categories, right? Where do we
Right.
suck with people? Where do we suck with this? And, I'm sure that would not be a great sell to clients. Hi, I'm a facilitator to come in to talk about where do we suck. But don't worry, I'll get you to another spot.
I kind of like that as a tagline.
Yeah, what do
I
you,
create a suck-free zone or something like that, right?
what, uh, what, what are the categories for that
Yeah.
should be covered in a strategic plan?
And it's interesting because it does differ a little bit. I mean, if you're a for-profit agency, of course, you have a
Great point.
customer product line, you have a revenue driven approach to, thinking about the future, whereas a nonprofit doesn't necessarily have that same focus.
Right. Or government,
I,
right? Because,
yeah, yeah, and government, of course, government, surprising to some people, does have we don't call them for-profit sectors, but they're enterprise funds that have to make
mm,
or break on their own. They can't be supported by general taxpayer funds.
right,
So there's even one of those types of sectors in the public government. But
right.
again, spaghetti, I digress. So for me, the questions that really get to the heart of what makes strategic planning important are the difficult questions, which are, what do people say about us? And why are they saying that about us? And if it's positive, that's great. What did we do to make that happen? That's
Mm-hmm.
easy. Everybody loves the positive.
Mm-hmm.
The better questions are, what about us do you think is not operating well? Right? What's frustrating? What makes
Mm-hmm.
you upset? What makes you mad? What keeps you awake at night? What are the things that you worry about?
Yeah.
And it's really important, by the way, that you do talk to your senior leadership because they have maybe a bigger picture view. But are you talking to the person who's on the front line of customer service?
Oh, yeah.
Those are the people who answer the phones. Those are some of the most key people to involve in this conversation.
Absolutely. Well, and when I do strategic planning, not at the quantity and high level that you do it at, um, I always begin with the who are we, because I
I love
never
that
want to
question.
make that assumption, because that one's fascinating. When you ask a group of people in a room as an icebreaker or the start of an activity or the client in a client meeting, how would you define yourself? Because I just walk through the halls and that's not what is happening in real life.
And I often ask that question as a person. Let's say the name of the town is Frederick. So we'll create a persona for Fred, as we're now calling him. Who is Fred? Where does Fred shop? What kind of clothes?
Oh,
Where does
nice.
Fred eat? When you meet Fred, what's your impression of him, right? What are Fred's values in
Mm,
life? And when people can start relating it to a feeling or an emotion,
yeah.
is where you start to get really great answers. I mean, especially with for-profit companies, when you're talking about revenue and product lines and critical success factors and, business areas, you tend to get really logical and really organized and analytical. Strategic planning is just as much about emotions and feelings and
Yeah.
the way you make your customers feel, the way you make
Yeah.
your employees feel, your investors, how do they feel about you?
Right.
Yeah, bottom line is super important to everybody, but it's the people side that facilitation can really bring to the forefront of strategic planning
Yeah.
that most strategic planners just ignore.
Yeah. Thank you. And if there are any facilitators watching, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, and facilitators are really good at, you know, getting the people in this place and psychological safety and holding the space and moving forward." And anyone who's not a facilitator and doesn't know what facilitator does is who's watching, that's one of the important components about facilitation is you very safely help people get feel comfortable with being uncomfortable, right? And then get them to an end result that they are thrilled with. Uh,
Yeah, that they can literally one of my jobs is, and it sometimes, let's be clear, it doesn't always happen this way. But one of my jobs as a facilitator, when you bring us in, one of our jobs is that everyone leaves the meeting, number one, understanding completely what the decision was,
right,
and on some level, supporting that. Now,
right,
like I tell people, sometimes it's, oh my gosh, that's the best thing ever. I can't wait to go home and tell all my friends and post on Facebook. And sometimes it's like, yeah, not so sure, but the group agreed to it, so I'm willing to support it.
mm,
There's a continuum there, but
yeah,
that's one of our jobs. And that's so often overlooked when people make decisions around the future of companies or the future of a facilitator can look at you and know whether or not you support that
yeah,
and find ways to ask questions to figure out what's bothering you,
yeah.
what we could do to make it better, what can we do to have your full support of this approach or this project.
And in full self disclosure, I don't know about you, but sometimes as a facilitator, I'll be in a meeting and everybody will be talking and we're moving and I'm thinking, "Oh, why am I doing this? Like this is just horrible. Will we ever survive?" And we always do and trust the
Yeah.
process. And I'm like, "Ah." And there is that moment and that's when you know you're at the point where you're going to turn the corner and everything will be fine. And at the end of a facilitation, you're kind of like spattered against the wall going, holy moly, that was draining.
You do it right, you have to take like 2 days off, right? But what's funny about that is I have learned, and this is really difficult for me personally. I don't know if it is for you or anybody out there watching this, but one of the best things I ever learned is just to keep my mouth shut.
Oh,
You
yeah.
create a process, you ask the great questions, and you see it start to head south. And way back when I started, I was inclined to kind of jump in and try to help guide,
Mm,
facilitate, right? And I have learned just to keep my mouth shut and kind of it's a skill set facilitation. It's
yeah,
not it's a process, yes,
yeah,
but it's a skill set. The best facilitators typically step back and watch because that's important to the process that
yeah,
people argue and go off spaghetti, go
yeah,
off track and come back.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
so, yeah.
Um, I'm going to do a plug for INIFAC here. We don't usually do that on this podcast, or at least we speak about INIFAC. I will say, both of us as certified master facilitators, as assessors, we get several candidates who we have to share with them in our feedback. You did more talking than the people in the group. So exactly to your point, it's such a valuable lesson to remember. Thanks for that one. Yeah. Hey, I have some other questions that I really think will be important. Um,
What, we're back on a script now?
yeah, well,
I
yeah, I'm
understand.
already on page 5, so yeah. I, we're talking about strategic planning,
Yeah.
and that's all great, and we got it. But now, give us some of your secrets. Like, what are some processes? Because you just can't go in there. Sure, you have an agenda.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about how we're perceived. We're going to talk about our stakeholders. We're going to talk about what we want. There's got to be processes. It's a facilitation. Can you brainstorm with me some processes?
Yeah, this is great because I am a process-oriented facilitator.
Yeah.
And the work that I do kind of lends itself to that, so it's great. But for strategic planning, everybody knows that there are components of a strategic plan that clients want. We touched on them, right? The vision, mission, values, strategic goals, priorities. For me, the most important thing to walk out the door with is an action or an implementation plan. Because without that, your strategic plan is just a pretty piece of paper sitting on the wall. And my favorite clients are the ones who are fully invested headfirst into how are we going to make this become a living part of our culture.
Mm,
So for me, the most important part of this process is having a conversation about how to integrate your budget, your other plans that you have, because everybody has other plans, IT plans, communication plans, customer engagement plans. Your strategic plan needs to integrate that, but also you need to figure out how to integrate it into your culture
mm,
so that everyone that you have that works with you, around you, near you, for you, knows your plan, appreciates your plan, and has an investment in making it work.
yeah.
And that process isn't as clear cut, but
Hmm.
what it really involves is ongoing, repeated, focused actions on implementation.
Right.
Usually every 3 months, a meeting of the implementation teams and getting two important parts involved. HR, any human resources team needs to get involved because that can be like performance evaluations, employee
Mm,
awards, cool t-shirts,
mm,
right? And finance, because that involves the budget and how we're going to actually put your money where your mouth is
right.
in the strategic plan.
Um, I want to even go back to the simpler terms. I work with a
Okay.
client in Asia, and what we did was we had a cartoonist come in, and in the discussion in the meeting, they heard all the components, and they created some of these amazing cartoons for the
Yes.
company. So I think there's
Yeah.
a visual component when you talk about the action. Da da da. How are these employees, these HR, these stakeholders going to remember things? So sure, you can brainstorm. Sure, you can poll the
Use
group.
all
What
those
do you think
techniques.
about this? Talk to me about some of those tools. Right?
Yeah, sort of in real life,
Yeah.
IRL stuff. Yeah. So I love the idea of a graphic facilitator.
Mm.
We use that almost every time if our clients see the value
Yes.
because you're right. Flip charts are lovely, reports are lovely, a lovely strategic plan is even lovelier. How many times have I said lovely? But that graphic facilitation. So I'll give you a great example. One of my clients, Coconut Creek, Florida, brought in a graphic facilitator. We did for our strategic planning. And the graphic facilitator created a heart around the idea of public safety because the community loved their police and their fire and their
Mm.
EMS. Well, now at every public safety event, they have red heart-shaped balloons that they give out to people.
Fabulous.
Um, they
Memory
created
joggers.
banners with
Great.
the icons that we pulled from that graphic facilitation, and they hang street banners. Their mascot happens to be, no joke, a butterfly named Fluffy. Again, near to my heart, right? Coconut Creek is an amazing place. If you haven't been there, you need to go. But regardless, so Fluffy now is a real life. They have Fluffies that wander around, but Fluffy now carries bits and pieces of these strategic plan icons with them wherever they go.
Wow.
They
What an
also created this
example.
super fun fake reporter named, I think his name is Scooter, and he's an employee, and he wears a fake wig and glasses and carries a fake microphone and wanders around grabbing people on the street and say, "What do you know about our strategic plan?" And the people on the street are like, "Well, I heard it's," of course, they're pre-prepped. So it's these physical
Wow.
manifestations of the
Yeah.
strategic plan that keep it real to people.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So
And
fun.
it's the how do you get there? So I know you can go online, you can say, hey, there's force field analysis. Hey, we did a SWOT. And that's great in the moment. And what you're talking about is how is Fluffy going to get the message out there? So here's my question to you. Anyone listening, what suggestions do you have for anyone who wants to improve their strategic planning toolkit, abilities, mindset? Give
I,
us some give
yeah.
us share the knowledge, share the wealth.
So you know this about me, but I believe facilitation is a practice, and the
Mm-hmm.
only way to get better is to continue to practice. And the way I became better was I volunteered my time to shadow someone who was facilitating, and I
Yes.
learned from them.
Yeah.
I asked for opportunities to facilitate even sections of a strategic planning conversation,
Great.
and people would allow me to do that, and I would ask for feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, reading books. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I have this whole range of books, but it's the practice. And
Yeah.
so, I think, again, certification is an important thing because it indicates to your client that you're different. You do, in fact, know about facilitation and how to appropriately facilitate in a wide range of opportunities or experiences.
Beautiful.
Because as you know, process be damned, right? Sorry, did I just swear? Process, the heck with process. It's going to go south in a meeting. Your
Yeah.
well-laid agenda and your well-laid process is not going to work.
Yeah.
And as a trained, certified facilitator, you're going to be able to say, that didn't work. I need to switch right now and try something else.
Yeah.
Right?
And you have the tools and experience to know how to do it. Oh,
But I would absolutely say practice. That's the only way to do it.
fantastic.
Watch, even online, watch great facilitators. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Well, I hope this was very useful to anyone watching this podcast. And Cheryl, thank you so much. Sheryl Trent, you got the invitation. Reach out to her because that's the thing within effect. We are more than happy to mentor and pay forward, as I say it. So,
Absolutely.
Cheryl,
Thanks for your time. It was fun.